Hello everybody, welcome you all in the new term. Now we will be starting new module in this term. So today we will start with the topic of arterial diseases. Now in arterial diseases, what we are going to learn, the nature and causes of occlusive arterial disease. We will learn the principle of management. We will also learn the management of ischemia and different vasospastic disorders. Now, acute arterial occlusion can be acute or chronic. So there can be sudden occlusion or gradual, which reflects in chronic obstruction, arterial obstruction. So first we will start with the acute arterial occlusion, and in next session we will discuss chronic arterial occlusion. Now acute arterial occlusion, which is sudden occlusion of an artery which results into sudden cessation of circulation with acute loss of tissue perfusion. It occurs within minutes or hours. So acute occlusion usually common in youngers. The probable cause may be trauma, which is being major factor nowadays. So coming to the causes of acute arterial occlusion, the most common cause, that is embolism due to thromboembolic phenomena, that is commonest. Nowadays trauma is also being commoner. Then any hypercoagulable state can give rise to acute thrombus formation. And nowadays various vascular surgery is being performed with the use of graft, either a venous graft or artificial graft. The thrombosis can occur in graft, so that is called as graft thrombus. The common cause, that is embolism, which can be solid, embolus can be solid or in the liquid form or fat, or say there can be obstruction due to gas or air also. Solid thrombus formation mostly occur in cardiac condition, 80% cases, which arises from left atrium conditions like atrial fibrillation. It can arise from left ventricle, either mural thrombus, or in case of myocardial infarction, there can be vegetation giving rise to embolism. Then vegetations occurring in endocarditis. In case of wall replacement, thrombus can be formed and it results into detachment causing embolism. Some non-cardiac causes, like in 10% cases, that is atheromatous plaque can dislodge causing embolism. Then in case of aneurysm, there can be clot formation, hematoma, or thrombus formation giving rise to obstruction of artery. Liquid embolism, when we infuse lipids, that can also known to cause embolism, or fat embolism can occur in case of multiple fractures. Fat is getting entry in the vessels, squeeze fat getting entry in the vessels causing embolism. The gas or air embolism, air is sucked in the vessels or air is accidentally injected in the vascular system. So in that case, that is an emergency. We have to treat it promptly. Patient is kept in an Trendelenburg position, head low position, on left lateral position, and we can aspirate the air from right ventricle. So air embolism can occur through neck veins because there is a negative pressure in neck vein, and it can also be treated with hyperbaric oxygen. Now, when this embolism is lodged in the vessel, it can block at the different site. For example, brain. If it blocks the cerebral vessels, it will result into cerebral infarction, hemiparesis. If it blocks mesentery, it will lead to ischemia of intestine. If it blocks heart, then it will coronary vessels, it will result into myocardial ischemia or myocardial infarction. The renal vessel can be blocked, resulting into hematuria and hypertension, renal hypertension. Common embolism occurs commonly in limbs. Lower limb 10 times more common than upper limb. In lower limb, 50% embolus occurs blocks at the level of femoral artery bifurcation. Now what happens if the artery is blocked? It will result into ischemia that reduces the blood supply, reduces the perfusion distally. First to affect, that is the sensitive peripheral nerve, then it affects the muscle, later on it affects the subcutaneous tissue, and lastly it affects the skin. Skin is last to affect due to effect of ischemia. Now when the ischemia is in the golden period, that is 1 to 6 hours, it is mostly reversible. We can save the limb or we can save the tissue. It is reversible. If it lasts for more than 6 hours, then it becomes irreversible ischemia, which results into permanent damage to the tissue. So keep in mind that golden period is very important. Within 6 hours, if we intervene to remove the block in the artery, there are chances that tissue will remain viable, and we can save the limb or save the organ. So when there is a ischemia, it will cause endothelial injury, which increases the permeability. It will result into fluid leak, causing interstitial edema, and again increased pressure in the surrounding tissue and the compartments, muscular compartment. That results into compartmental syndrome, which is again aggravating by compressing the vessel. The blood supply is again jeopardized. So that is a serious condition, compartmental syndrome, which requires urgent intervention. So clinically, first careful history regarding any history of trauma, any cardiac disease, and any condition associated comorbidity. The history must be taken carefully. Now clinically, ischemia will present with different signs. So remember 5 P's when there is acute ischemia which presents in as acute condition. So 5 P's that is pain, paresthesia, paresis that caused due to nerve hypoxia. Pain is sometimes severe, acute in nature. Paresthesia due to loss of sensation. Paresis, it is due to loss of motor function. Then pallor is there. So there is a pallor, color changes below the level of block. Then peripheral pulsation will be absent, that is called as pulselessness. One can find proximal pulsation more prominent, bounding or expanding. So expanding pulsation proximally and distally, peripherally, the absence of pulse is characteristic of acute arterial obstruction. Poikilothermia, that is cold extremity below the level of block, that will also correspond with the color changes level, and it is characterized by the absent toe movements. So color changes and coldness will correspond to the level of block. Now claudications which are present in chronic obstruction, chronic occlusion of arteries. But history of claudication will give you clue regarding the recent development of thrombus. So history is more important. Then toxic signs, tachycardia, tachypnea, shock can be there. Veins will be collapsed as against the prominent veins, dilated veins will be seen in venous obstruction like conditions like DVT, where you get dilated veins. But in acute arterial obstruction, the veins, superficial veins will be observed, we will get collapsed vein. Then in late cases there will be blebs and edema, the limb appears mottled. So most of the time the diagnosis clinically can be settled. Then we go for the investigations like X-ray chest, coagulation profile, platelet count. Now these investigations will be required to know the other comorbid conditions, any cardiac problem, any coagulopathy, and we want to know the level of or site of arterial block. So for that, Doppler scan, handheld Doppler can be used, or duplex scan with the use of ultrasonography. Venous Doppler or arterial Doppler, both Doppler can be done. So we can know the arterial block, distal circulation, level of block, and degree of block. Then ECG and echo, that is required to rule out any cardiac condition. Angiography is the gold standard to know the arterial block. So angiography, it is an invasive procedure, but still it is a gold standard. It will exactly show the block and distal blood supply. MR angiography, it is non-invasive, can be used nowadays. Now, once we diagnose, we want to know the severity of ischemia. So we can classify to determine the severity of ischemia, particularly in acute limb ischemia. We classify into early and late. So in early, we classify it into class 1, 2A and 2B. Class 1, there is no pain, no neurological deficit, there is audible Doppler. Class 2A, again no pain, numbness, paresthesia present, no audible Doppler. Class 2B, there is a persistent pain, sensory and motor loss, no Doppler signal. So that is early classification, and late, that is class 3, that is irreversible. There is a paralysis, anesthesia, no venous flow. In class 1 and 2, there is a venous flow is maintained. In class 3, venous flow is absent. So this late ischemia, The changes are irreversible, limb may not be salvaged even after restoring the blood supply, as the changes becomes irreversible. So that is important to know. So again, severity of ischemia can be determined with neurological symptoms which carries a prognostic value. If the motor and sensory functions are intact, the extremity survival chances are more. Late ischemia is more likely to land up with the gangrene and we have to go for amputation. So acute arterial ischemia or acute arterial obstruction, the condition should be differentiated from the deep vein thrombosis, where we will find dilated vein, and on color Doppler we can see that DVT is present. We can rule out on color Doppler or angiography. Then again another condition like ergot poisoning, where there is a severe vasospasm, so that should be differentiated from the acute arterial occlusion. So how to treat a case of acute arterial occlusion? So golden period, that is most important to get the result. So initially we give medical treatment, rest the part, some analgesic for the pain relief because pain is severe. Start with the IV infusion of heparin 5000 to 10,000 units. Now later on it can be continued with the oral anticoagulant like warfarin. Now this infusion will prevent the extension of existing thrombus, and also it will prevent the recurrent embolization. Now if we have got facilities like vascular surgeon, so we can go for surgical intervention. So it is better to go for surgical intervention within 6 hours to prevent muscle necrosis. Beyond 6 hours, muscle will get necrosed, the irreversible changes will occur. So the prognosis will become worst. So embolectomy can be done with the help of 5 French Fogarty catheter, which is having balloon. It is passed through the after arteriotomy. It is passed in the distally to the block, and balloon is inflated, and the embolus is extracted. Then embolectomy can be done with open method arteriotomy, which can be associated with bypass, either venous bypass or by using vein or artificial venous artificial graft like Dacron or PTFE. So this procedure can be done under local or general anesthesia. And in every procedure we have to continue with the heparin intraoperatively as well as postoperatively, and later on which can be switched over to warfarin, oral anticoagulant. Now when there is arterial injury, arterial trauma, then if a part of arterial wall is damaged, it can be repaired with the venous patch. If there is a through and through division of artery, end-to-end suturing can be done and alignment is restored. If the part of artery is contused, lacerated, then that can be excised and end-to-end anastomosis can be tried if it is a small defect, small loss of artery. If the loss of artery is more than 2 centimeter, then autogenous vein graft by using a long saphenous vein, it should be reversed because it contains wall. So reverse saphenous vein graft can be used as a to bridge the arterial loss if it is more than 2 centimeter. Minor arterial injuries like radial ulnar, if they are minor injuries, minor arteries, they can be ligated safely without any damage to the tissue. So nowadays we have got endovascular therapists. So in less severe cases, we can start with the heparin and then we can go for intra-arterial thrombolysis by using streptokinase, that is 2.5 lakh units for initially for 30 minutes. It is given IV. Or it can be given intra-arterial 20,000 units followed by 1 lakh units in 24 hours. Intravenous streptokinase can be continued as 20,000 units per hour, which can dissolve the thrombus in 24 hours. The urokinase, initially 2.5 lakh units bolus followed by 4,000 units per minute for 4 hours, then it can be reduced to 2,000 units per minute. Then TPA, that is tissue plasminogen activator, which converts the plasminogen to plasmin, that helps to dissolve the embolus. So that can be used nowadays. So that is the endovascular therapy when nowadays being performed to dissolve the clot. Now this endovascular therapy is not without its side effect, or there are certain contraindications like recent stroke, recent major surgery, history of recent bleeding, or any eye surgery. One should not go for endovascular therapy. Then other contraindications like pregnancy, peptic ulcer, coagulopathy, severe hypertension. These are the contraindications for endovascular therapy. So other modalities available, that is called as percutaneous mechanical thrombectomy. The device can act with aspirating the thrombus, or it can suck out the thrombus, or it can be used by doing pulverization of the thrombus. There can be drilling machine which can drill the thrombus, making the way tunnel. Then by using ultrasonic waves, ultrasonographically thrombolysis can be done. Now once you restore the blood supply of acute ischemic limb by means of either endovascular therapy or open arteriotomy and removal of thrombectomy, there is a sudden blood supply to the distal part, which is restored suddenly. So it results the assault with the tissue, that is called as reperfusion injury, that results into sudden release of free oxygen radicals, which blocks the microcirculation. The high level release of potassium and myoglobulins, that will cause tubular necrosis resulting into acute renal failure. There will be cardiac dysfunction. Locally there is an interstitial edema, and ultimately it results into compartment syndrome. So again, perfusion injury also causes compartment syndrome. Now other complications like there may not be flow distally. Totally the flow is absent. Now this reperfusion injuries clinically presents with severe pain. Patient complains severe pain, numbness, paresthesia, the limb becomes tense and painful, and we can find that passive flexion and extension is very painful. So it can be treated with by giving IV mannitol. Urgent fasciotomy is required. Antibiotic cover. Patient needs to be kept in ICU care to treat the reperfusion injury. So one must be aware of these reperfusion injuries, as it can give rise to bad prognosis even after surgical intervention. Thank you very much.